don't get fooled into thinking that this is a lighter shoe. It's not. Hey guys, welcome to the show Mara, and today we're looking at the Brooks Cascadia 16. So what's new with the Cascadia 16? Quite a lot actually. A completely new midsole. We're looking at a completely different material in the midsole in version 16 compared to 15. Version 15 had the Biogomo DNA, which is a slightly firmer, stiffer material than the DNA LOFT that Brooks normally use in their midsoles. Now the DNA LOFT would have been, say, the more expensive or the higher end material over the years, and in the last couple of years Brooks have been putting more and more DNA LOFT into their mid-range shoes. Now this guy comes with a complete DNA LOFT V2 midsole. So DNA LOFT is 10% bouncier or soft than Biogomo, and it's 20% lighter as well. Now what they've done with the midsole also is they've incorporated on the medial and lateral side of the outsole, the way it rides up on the side. You can see it on both sides there. Now this is a complete, for me, a rip-off of Hoka. Hoka have been doing this for years in their models, and a lot of brands have been, I suppose, copying it. The idea is it makes the shoe more stable, so people who maybe need a bit more stability in their shoe without adding weight, a huge amount of weight to the shoe, they can add a little bit of more stability by incorporating this design into the shoe. Now with the midsole you have 2 mil extra of foam compared to version 15, and then you have the DNA LOFT V2 instead of the Biogomo. Now when I put this shoe on for the first time, the first thing I noticed was that it felt a lot more rugged than version 15. When I dig into it, basically what it is a bigger sole unit on the shoe now. There's that bit more wedge underneath you. Just feels like the shoe is that little bit more aggressive. Now what I would say is you can feel that extra 10% of softness underneath your foot when you put on version 16 compared to version 15. So for the all-round comfort of the shoe, the DNA LOFT is going to give you a much greater experience than the Biogomo. Durability wise, DNA LOFT lasts really well as well. So basically what we're seeing here from Brooks as they roll it out in the Brooks 14 as well, a complete DNA LOFT midsole there as well, is that they're putting the DNA LOFT into their mid-range of shoes. It's to be competitive with the likes of New Balance with their Fresh Foam X, and Saucony going to a Power Run and Power Run Plus. So all these brands really have to compete with each other with the midsole materials, so they're starting to put their more expensive materials into their mid-range shoes, which is great for us guys. The next big change is the outsole. Now when we compare it to the Brooks Cascadia 15, there is quite a difference going on here. They're still using the all-track sticky material on the outsole, but they've changed the design of the lugs. They're more of a wing-shaped lug. I don't see that making a huge difference. There isn't as many lugs on the outsole, and the reason for that is the Ballistic Rock Plate. So you can see your Ballistic Rock Plate. It's in both shoes, but what they've done here, you can see the lines running the length of the shoe, and you see it down here as well. Runs the length of the shoe, and the whole idea of that is to make the shoe more flexible, lateral to medial, medial to lateral. The whole idea is to try and make the sole of the shoe, with the slight change in design of the rock plate and using the DNA LOFT V2, is to give the shoe the more of a road feel shoe to it. Now I have to say, as I said, when I put it on, I felt it very rugged, I felt it very comfortable as well, and I find it very stable as well. Now the real test will come now in the next couple of days when I hit the trails in the Phoenix Park and put this guy to the test. So also when we look at the heel cup and the collar, we look at the tongue first, it's exactly the same as version 15 with that semi-gusseted tongue. Your typical Brooks, plenty of cushion and comfort built into the heel cup and the collar here. An extremely sturdy heel cup to protect you from all different types of elements that you'll find on the trail. Plus very useful for someone who wants to put an orthotic into this shoe. Very good build material or build effort, like, you know, it's very sturdy, feels very rugged, very strong in the hands. Another little feature we have here is, you'll see in version 16 we have 2 holes here. I'm not 100% exactly sure what the reasoning is for that, but what I can see that it does offer people slightly different ways of lacing up the top of the shoe in regards to maybe a gaiter, or even for different comforts and lockdowns, you know. So when we just compare it to version 15, you can see there you just have the 1 extra hole. Okay, the upper has stayed more or less exactly the same. There's very little difference there. It's still that mono loop upper, that 3D print, fine mesh here. So the whole idea is, you can see here with the new version, the embossment here around by the toe protector there, you see it coming up the front, and the same on this side here. Like that's more or less waterproof, and this guy up here then will be water resistant. But this is quite breathable, so if it's a very dry day and it's quite warm, you'll be fine that way. The shoe breathes really well. There is the Gore-Tex version of this shoe that they bring out every year as well, but me personally, I would never go for a Gore-Tex shoe. I don't go rugged enough trail or high enough up in the mountains to justify a waterproof shoe. I'm running in parks and on trails, in little forests and stuff like that. Like, so what I'm looking for is something that's going to give me the rugged grip, give me a bit of protection with the rock plate, because this guy protects you from sharp objects like rocks in the ground, or maybe roots from trees and stuff like that. Nice bit of comfort and not too heavy. Coming to the weight in this guy, if you read into Brooks' blurb about the shoe, you would think that it's a lighter shoe because of the midsole they talk about. Like I said, it's 10% softer and 20% lighter than the previous midsole. I think, oh, it must be a lighter shoe. But this actually comes in at 10 grams heavier than version 15. So this is a size 10 US, size 9 UK. Exactly the same size, 15 to 16, and it's 10 grams heavier. As you can see here on the scales, you're looking at 325-ish and 335-ish. Now 10 grams isn't a huge amount, but don't get fooled into thinking that this is a lighter shoe. It's not. It's slightly heavier. Now, you've 2 mil extra of foam in the midsole. That's where I reckon that extra bit of weight comes from. Like, it's giving you a nice softer ride, but slightly heavier. Now, look, it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm not going to break world records in this guy. I had this guy for a specific reason: to hit the trails, forest trails, and to be able to go wherever I want during the winter months, and no, I'm not going to end up on my backside. With the 4 mil lug depths, plenty of grip. The outsole looks to me like it's going to perform pretty much the same as the 15 did, and I was really happy with the 15. The midsole then is going to be the really interesting part when I test it out first in my first run. As you can see, like, there's plenty of foam there in the midsole, so the upper hasn't changed much at all. So it'll be very interesting. There you go, guys. Cascadia 16.